How did one of history's most notorious serial killers manage to elude detection in the relatively small confines of Whitechapel, where residents knew their neighbors and police patrolled nightly, unless he wasn't actually a stranger at all, but rather someone who belonged there, someone the locals saw and trusted every day? Victorian London, 1888. The gas lamps cast long shadows across Whitechapel's narrow streets. But among the city's millions, one shadow was darker than the rest. For months, terror gripped the East End as a brutal killer stalked its alleyways. But while the newspapers painted him as a monster, one man saw something far more chilling: the face of ordinary respectability. Police surgeon Thomas Bond would pioneer what we now know as criminal profiling, painting a portrait of the killer that would change detective work forever. His revolutionary conclusion? The monster they sought wasn't a monster at all, at least not on the surface. According to Bond, he would be well-dressed, respectable, middle-aged, the kind of man who could walk these very streets without raising an eyebrow. A local resident hiding behind a mask of normalcy. The time of Jack the Ripper, primarily 1888 in Victorian London, was a fascinating and troubling period marked by stark social contrasts and significant urban challenges. The murders took place specifically in Whitechapel, one of London's poorest districts in the East End. This area was characterized by extreme poverty and overcrowding. Families often lived in cramped single rooms in dilapidated tenements. Many residents were recent immigrants, particularly Jewish refugees fleeing pogroms in Eastern Europe, creating a diverse but struggling community. The casual poor economy. Many women, including the Ripper's victims, survived through a combination of casual labor, temporary lodging houses, and prostitution. Alcohol abuse was widespread, partly as a coping mechanism for harsh living conditions. Growing social awareness, the murders drew upper-class attention to East End's poverty. Social reformers like Charles Booth were already documenting London's poverty, and newspapers brought Whitechapel's conditions to middle-class readers. Police modernization. The Metropolitan Police was developing new investigative techniques. The Ripper case saw early uses of photography in crime scene documentation and increased focus on forensic evidence. Victorian media. The murders coincided with an aggressive penny press that sensationalized the crimes. This created one of the first modern media frenzies, with extensive coverage and letter hoaxes claiming to be from the killer. From the desk of Inspector Frederick Aberline, 28th November, 1888. I write these notes with a trembling hand, not from fear, though there is plenty to fear in our fog-shrouded streets these days, but from exhaustion. 3 months have passed since the killer, whom the papers dubbed Jack the Ripper, began his reign of terror in our district, and sleep has become a distant memory for those of us tasked with bringing him to justice. The light from my oil lamp casts dancing shadows across the stack of witness statements, medical reports, and letters that litter my desk. Each piece of paper represents another dead end, another false lead, another sleepless night. The latest document before me is the medical examiner's report on Mary Jane Kelly, our fifth and most horrifically mutilated victim. Dr. Phillips' normally steady handwriting shows signs of distress as he details the scene at 13 Miller's Court. I cannot blame him. What we witnessed in that small room on the 9th of November will haunt us until our dying days. The criminal investigation files have grown thick with potential suspects. Montague John Druitt, the barrister who vanished shortly after our last murder. The Polish barber Aaron Kosminski, whose erratic behavior has drawn our attention. The American quack doctor Francis Tumblety, who fled to America under suspicious circumstances. Even the Queen's grandson, Prince Albert Victor, though I dismiss such rumors as sensationalist nonsense. Our investigation has revolutionized modern policing. We've employed new techniques: crime scene photography, medical forensics, detailed witness interviews. Yet our query remains elusive. The fog that cloaks London's streets seems to shield him like a protective shroud. The pattern haunts me. The careful selection of vulnerable women, the surgical precision of the mutilations, the escalating nature of the violence. This is no ordinary murder. He possesses medical knowledge, works with terrible efficiency, and seems to know the winding streets as intimately as any Whitechapel native. The letters keep arriving at Scotland Yard, some obviously hoaxes, others less certainly so. The one signed "From Hell" arrived with half a preserved kidney, supposedly from victim Catherine Eddowes. Our medical examiner couldn't definitively rule out as authentic. Tonight, as I write by lamplight, the fog presses against my window like a pale hand. Somewhere out there, perhaps he's walking these same streets. Is he planning another attack? Or has he, like so many of our suspects, simply vanished into London's labyrinthine depths? The case remains open, the files grow thicker, the witnesses grow fewer, and somewhere, perhaps Jack the Ripper still walks free, carrying his terrible secrets to whatever end awaits him. And so, the shadow of Jack the Ripper still looms over London's East End, his identity forever sealed in the fog of time. Was he a doctor, a royal, or someone who simply vanished into the labyrinth of Victorian London's darkest streets? Some mysteries, it seems, are destined to remain unsolved. If you're fascinated by history's most chilling cases, don't let them remain a mystery to you. Join our community of true crime investigators by hitting that subscribe button and turning on your notifications. The Criminal Investigation Files brings you deep dives into history's most compelling criminal cases. Share this video with fellow true crime enthusiasts, and don't forget to leave a like and a comment. It helps us uncover more dark chapters of Criminal Investigation Files. So until next time, keep investigating. And thank you all for your continued support.